Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're really delighted at the overwhelming response we received for the fellowship. This is the second webinar that we're hosting. The last one was on Saturday. Thank you during the working day that you made time to join us. I'm Apula, and I'm joined by my colleague Janvi. We're both the program team of the PFM Fellowship, and we'll be hosting the webinar for you today. Look forward to your questions towards the end. So we'll start with an introduction to Janaagraha and the work of the Municipal Finance team, which is the team that is anchoring the fellowship within Janaagraha. We will talk about why this fellowship, so why the issue of why women as the key stakeholder here and why public finance. So we lay some context for you there. Then deep dive into the fellowship structure, what the model is going to be like, what is the work that you're going to do, who you're going to be working with, what kind of the selection process that we will follow, and what are the timelines going forward. And like I said earlier, towards the end, we will have 20 to 25 minutes for the Q&A session. As some of you may already know, Janaagraha is part of a larger Jana group, which was founded in 2001 by Swati and Ramesh Ramanathan. It is a non-profit group, and Janaagraha focuses on urban governance, which we see as citizen participation and city governance reforms. We've been working in this sphere for over 20 years now. We have 4 other sister organizations, the Jana Urban Services for Transformation, which works on municipal consulting, Jana Urban Space Foundation, which works on urban planning and design, Janaagraha, which is on affordable housing, and Jana Small Finance Bank, which is on financial inclusion. Talking about Janaagraha particularly, our mission is to transform the quality of life in India's cities and towns, and we hope to do that through strengthening of city systems and enabling delivery of high quality infrastructure and services through 3 pillars that you see here. One of municipal finance, which will be the focus of our conversation today, on civic participation, and thirdly on urban policy and research. In municipal finance, we work to provide strategic assistance to state and on the central government on municipal finance reforms and financial empowerment of urban local bodies. Here we have 2 focus areas of resource augmentation, fiscal efficiency, transparency, and accountability. Second pillar of civic participation looks at demonstrating, measuring impact, and creating sustainable institutionalized platforms for citizen participation, for trainings of councillors, making them into stronger leaders for our cities. Third, on urban policy and research, this focuses, as the name itself explains, it's like a thought leadership wing within Janaagraha, which focuses on disseminating research on greater devolution of funds, functions, and functionaries for urban local governments. We also 2 thematic areas that we've started focusing on are climate resilience and health outcomes, and sitting in well with the stakeholder group that we're focusing for the fellowship is the women, and also we're looking at urban poor through our citizen participation efforts. Next slide, please. Now I'll talk a little bit about our work on municipal finance to give you a context of the engagement that we've had so far with different governments, kind of work that we've been able to drive. So we feel that municipal finance reforms can catalyze large-scale systems change. There are 3 objectives that we have in whatever work that we do: of financial accountability, financial sustainability, and financial efficiency. And we try to address the 6 questions that you see on your slide here, that where is there enough money with local governments? Where is that money coming from? How is that moving between different tiers of the government, from center to state to local governments? How are local governments allocating it between different sectoral priorities? Are there any bottlenecks in the way it's flowing? So trying to fix that. Is the money reaching the intended local government for the intended purpose? How it is actually getting spent? And lastly, whether citizens or other stakeholder groups who derive benefit from this funding are actually able to create demand on how that money should be spent. Are there any measures for accountability and transparency in this entire cycle? I will talk a little bit about our projects on those three objectives. One, on financial sustainability. We've had a very fruitful, very constructive engagement with the 15th Central Finance Commission. We drafted the chapter on the urban local governments, and our recommendations have been adopted. And now we're sitting in with as a support unit within the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to ensure that the recommendations that have been adopted are actually being fulfilled in the way the grants are disbursed from the central government to urban local governments. And we're using our city finance portal. I'd encourage all of you to visit it. It's a database of municipal finance information, which will create a marketplace for local governments and state governments and marketplace players like banks or investors to actually raise funding for urban local governments in the country. So through this platform of city finance, we're ensuring that grants under the 15th Finance Commission are actually reaching the local governments. They're able to put the required information to show that they're meeting the criteria for the grant criteria. We've also worked with the 6th State Finance Commission of Haryana, and we're soon to launch a report which looks at state finance commissions across the country, what are the challenges that they face, how to strengthen them and their functioning. Then on revenue augmentation, we've done extensive work with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, with different state governments, with ADB and World Bank. Our property tax toolkit has been used by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to actually advocate to different states on how they can go about raising property taxes within their ULBs. We've forayed into user charges as well as municipal borrowings, and we'll be releasing a user charge toolkit as well very soon. We're working with SEBI and the central government on creating, like I said, a marketplace for municipal borrowings. On financial efficiency, we're embedded with the Odisha Housing and Urban Affairs Department for close to 4 years now, and are replicating a similar model with the UP government as well, where we're supporting them throughout on municipal strengthening reforms, particularly on public finance. So just to give you an example, for instance, in Odisha Urban Development Department, we've designed and are executing a grant monitoring platform, which gives the state visibility on where money is coming from, how it is allocated to different schemes, how much has actually reached the local governments, what are they spending it on. Must be interesting for you to know that states which give a lot of the money to the governments don't actually know how it has been spent on the ground. So this basic level of information is something that the grant is providing, so that state can make better decisions on how to allocate money, on which purposes, where it is getting utilized. On financial accountability, like I said, you must all visit the city finance portal. It has over 2,700 ULBs published audited account statements. We're also about to host a database of close to 3,500 budgets that we've collected for the city finance rankings. Next now.
I'll just quickly walk you through the background as to why we've chosen public finance and why women specifically as well. As you see, we have a good amount of experience working with governments all over the place. And one thing that we find difficult to not pay attention to is the fact that our population is close to 50% women, but the representation on the government end when it comes to making decisions about finance is not close to representing 50%. So we are looking to increase the number of women within this public administration and public finance realm. There is also a good number of research articles, one specifically which is by the UN Development Project, that talks about the importance of having women in this field and how that impacts public finance, public infrastructure, and the quality of life positively. This is the background from which we come at the fellowship and why women specifically. We have two objectives with this fellowship. One is that we are looking to catalyze public finance reforms, which will improve the quality of life throughout urban India. And we're also looking at nurturing women professionals that will emerge as leaders in the public finance management field so that they can influence better gender outcomes in the future. Now, directly to the structure of the fellowship itself. This is a 2-year program, which will also be a full-time commitment. You will need to be working with the state governments in the state where you're selected, and you will be receiving training and mentorship throughout the 2 years. There will be the finance departments or the urban development departments of the states that are selected. We will get into the states at a later stage in this presentation. We are looking at women with approximately 4 to 7 years of experience in the space of urban governance, municipal finance, etc. This is ideally to get an approximate profile of people who understand the sector and will be able to do well in this field. However, we're also looking at considering profiles with less work experience than that, provided you have the passion that it takes and the drive to work in the sector and continue staying here after the fellowship. We are also taking up a cohort of about 8 to 10 fellows. Each fellow will have a partner, so there will be 2 fellows placed per project. And the stipend for the fellowship is 1,20,000 rupees per fellow per month.
So far we have 3 government hosts who we have in principle buy-in from to place fellows. We have the Department of Urban Development from Government of UP. From Government of Assam, we have Department of Housing and Urban Affairs, and we have the Department of Finance from Government of Odisha. We're also speaking to 3 other governments, and by the time we open applications, we will be able to talk about who those finalized governments are. So this is a list to sort of give you a sense of what kind of project areas that you will be working on. This sort of lays out from the way, and I think of this as the entire life cycle of how money flows within the government. So you'll start off by, say, understanding what is the existing legal landscape, what are the systems and processes in place, who are the people working along the entire chain, what kind of work that they do. Once you have that understanding, you start by looking at how money is coming into the government. So what are the different sources of revenue? Is there a way to sort of improve those revenue sources, add new revenue sources to the existing tax net? Thirdly, you look at there's a lot of money that local governments get from the center and the state. So they have an interest in being able to track how that money is utilized, the certain conditions that need to be met, what kind of outputs and outcomes are actually met from the money that is being received by urban local governments. So trying to design a framework around that and tracking the efficiency of the money that is actually coming into urban local governments. Once you get the money, then ULBs need to sort of budget for that, see where they will be spending that money. So you will assist them along that process. Currently, there is obviously an existing system of how budgets are made, how they are spent, how their efficiency is tracked, but clearly there are a lot of loopholes and bottlenecks in that process. So you will be working on understanding what those are, how that process can be made more robust and realistic budgets can be made, how utilization and its tracking can be improved. And lastly, a very important foundation of this entire structure is digital tools that enable efficiency, that ensure people can be held accountable, that ease administrative burden on a lot of players throughout this chain. So you'll be also working on developing certain frameworks, working with different vendors and within the government to design such a digital architecture and ensuring that it gets embedded within the system. Next would be the fellow scope of work. So to give you a sense of what you will be doing on a day-to-day basis within the government, you may not do all of those things at once, but this is largely the areas of work that you will be focusing on. So starting by research, like I already said, you will look at what exactly is the existing system, what are the laws, what are the policies and practices that are currently being followed. So you will do a lot of research on that, looking at the documents available within the government. You will analyze those, you'll analyze budget documents, you'll analyze audited financial statements, where money is coming from, what kind of expenditure is being made. So doing a preliminary assessment of that data, engaging with different state government, ULB level government, even people from outside the government to understand what kind of reforms work, what are their challenges, understanding their needs of what kind of reforms need to be put in place, and then work towards implementation of those reforms, and finally synthesize and document, which is will be a key component of the work that you do, because we want you to build thought leadership in this space, talk about the work that you do so that the entire ecosystem benefits from it.
I will walk you through the support that you'll have throughout these 2 years. Please know that you're not expected to reach any of these large goals completely by yourself. We will be starting off the 2 years of this fellowship with an induction workshop. This will be a 3 to 4 day workshop, which will be in person. Once the fellows are selected, we will all meet in one place. There will be in-person training. There will also be sessions to have rapport within the cohort so that throughout the years you can support each other as you grow. Throughout the 2 years, we will also have webinars that will be 2-hour interactive sessions with domain experts in the various requirements that you will have in terms of skills, in terms of understanding the system and understanding PFM itself. We will also be having master classes under training. Master classes are where eminent women from the field, from various walks of life, but mostly mostly within the field of public finance management and public administration. They will be coming in to interact with you, and the idea is to understand their personal stories, understand the journey of a woman through the system, and you will be able to interact with them during these sessions. Through mentoring, we are looking at assigning a personal mentor to each fellow. The idea of this is that they can help you understand the problems that you'll be facing during the fellowship, which are not the public finance issues, they will be the personal ones that you will encounter. They will help you plan and design the project that you're working on. They will give you technical assistance in terms of how to navigate, government frameworks, government systems. They will give you advice on the various knowledge sources that you might need to access during this time. They will also give you guidance on career prospects in the future after the fellowship is over. And then we come to program support. Program support is essentially what the program team will be doing, which is primarily Apollo and I. We will be giving you support in terms of check-in calls, which will be regular one-on-one interactions, or perhaps even in a group setting, where we will try to understand the personal issues that you might be facing. We will attempt to troubleshoot and help you through them. There will be check-in calls with your mentors. These will be more structured, where you will follow a project plan. You will understand bottlenecks or issues that have come up and figure out a plan to deal with it. There will be reviews with the program team, where again, this will be a more structured, more formal sort of call, where we will use a project tracker, understand progress on various fronts, and evaluate the way ahead. Final one is reviews with the government, where the nodal officers that are in charge of the programs or the projects that you're working on will be involved, and we will be using, again, project trackers to understand where you're at and how to go forward with the program that you are on. Talking now about the timeline and selection process. So there are 3 steps of the selection process where the program team will be involved. The first one is an application that you have to submit online. For this, you will need referrals. You need to give us contact details of people that you have worked with before. Then there is a statement of purpose, which is a 500-word essay that you need to write. There will also be, and this could be the most important part of your application, case analysis. When you go to the website and attempt to apply, you will be given case prompts where you have to select a case, analyze it as per your understanding of the situation, and tell us how that works out for you. This needs to be a PDF document that you will attach to the application form. The virtual screening interviews will also happen with the program team, where we get to know you one-on-one, and we will ask you a few more details about your background and the fitment per project. The in-person interviews with the program team will be where we meet you. This will either happen in Delhi or Bangalore. And the idea is to divide the in-person interviews into 3 sections, where we will first have group discussions. There will be one-on-one discussions between the program team and the candidates that are shortlisted. And the final thing is where you have to present the case study that you had done in the first online application. This will contribute fairly to whether you get to the next round. The next round is with the government nodal officers that are in charge of the projects that are selected for this fellowship. These will be completely, this will be along with us and the government nodal officers. There is the final step after this, where you will be issued an offer to join the fellowship. This works sort of like a job. If the offer is acceptable, we can go ahead and then you become fellows. As for the timeline of the fellowship, we will be launching applications mid-September. This is when you can start sending us your online applications. This will be open for about a month's time, after which we will start virtual screening interviews, then the in-person interviews, both of them with the government officers as well as with us. We will look at doing the induction training somewhere in late November or early December, post which your field immersion begins, which means you will have some time between the induction and field immersion where you need to relocate to the state where you'll be working if relocation is necessary. And after 2 years, we will have the graduation. I believe that's an approximate idea of what the fellowship is. We will now be open to questions and answers. If you have any queries, please ask away. You can use the question answer section in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we will